This month's Centresteer podcast is sponsored by Commonwealth Classics. Commonwealth Classics is a direct importer of classic vehicles from Europe and South America and has a rotating collection of rare and unique Land Rovers. Their showroom is located in Virginia, just 45 minutes from downtown Washington, D.C. Visit cwclassics.com to view their current inventory of classic vehicles, and be sure to follow them on Instagram so you can see what they're up to. Thanks, Commonwealth Classics, for your continued support of the podcast. The Centresteer Podcast, a Land Rover podcast by Land Rover owners. Welcome to the Centresteer Podcast, podcast number 110 for May 2022. Centresteer is a podcast by, for, and about Land Rover owners. Sorry to shout in your ear there, but it is 110. It's a special episode here.
One of my favorite numbers.
It's one of the best numbers.
One of the few honest numbers when it comes to Land Rovers.
I'm your host, John Costage. That is Harold joining us over Zoom. Hi, Harold.
Hey.
And Morgan. Hello, Morgan.
Hello.
And joining us from the Sky Creeper, he's with us this month. Dixon, welcome, sir.
Good day.
Good day. What? You're not Canadian anymore? You've moved to Australia?
Oh, I forget the Beer Hunter theme song.
Oh, coo.
That's right.
Okay. Bob and Doug McKenzie, good day, eh?
Good day, eh?
Our guest this podcast is Team Rover Landing. Sarah Crabtree and Ellen Reynaud, they're lifelong Land Rover enthusiasts. They're competing in the R.O.V.E.R.S rally later this year. The R.O.V.E.R.S rally is in its 7th year and is the first woman-only off-road navigation competition in the U.S. It is a well-established and respected event that brings over 50 teams of talented women to compete in the Nevada and California deserts for 8 straight nights. And it's a race also about women's empowerment and designed to inspire women and girls to dream big and feel encouraged to pursue their dreams, even wildest ones. I took that from their GoFundMe site because Sarah and Ellen have started a GoFundMe in order to raise money necessary to compete in the R.O.V.E.R.S rally in a Heritage Defender 110, which is really cool.
No dudes allowed.
So please consider supporting them. The link we'll have a link to the GoFundMe in the show notes, of course, and later in the podcast, you'll get to hear from Sarah and Ellen. Thanks for listening. A big thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. We appreciate your support. Visit our website to see how you can support the podcast. As a Patreon supporter, you can buy a shirt or sticker or even buy us a tea. It's just like Patreon, but you choose the amount. And thanks again to Bob for more brown water.
Keep it coming, Bob.
This is your monthly reminder that in 2023, it is Land Rover's 75th anniversary, and we're inviting all Land Rover owners to the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix in July of 2023, especially Series and Defender owners. You have 13 months to get your Rover ready.
And just before that, there will probably be the Anarch 75th at a location yet to be disclosed.
Yes, it is time for the Anarch update. As Dixon said, Dixon and I are part of the Anarch board and helping to select a location for an event to celebrate the 75th anniversary here in North America. And we're very close to selecting an event. It will be in the Northeast, I can tell you that. It will be, June 11th through the 15th. Is that right, Dixon?
It's mid-June next year, yes. Actually, for the people that might not know, Anarch is the Association of North American Rover Clubs. So it's an association of, at this point in time, the larger clubs, Ottawa Valley and the Virginia clubs that have gotten together to reform the organization, to redo the 75th anniversary event after doing the 50th down in New York State in 1998. And, well, it's looking for other clubs to join and help along with an event which could actually be even larger than we expect.
That is kind of a concern when we were considering sites, is how many people do you expect to show up at this event?
But you got to prepare for it just in case.
Oh, it's certain. There's a good committee of people that are working very diligently, which is why it's taking a bit of time to go and look at the various sites and so on to see, who can handle what.
There's 4 sites under consideration, and there have been site visits to every one of them by a group of the folks on the team helping to select that. And I think there's going to be a vote this week on selecting that location. But yeah, as Dixon said, there's some diligent work going on to select an appropriate location. And the idea is to have, off-roading, have a trail event, have some sort of competition trials event, have a dinner gathering, have morning breakfasts, social gatherings, and have vendor areas. So all of these things are under consideration for the event that will take place in mid-June of next year.
Like a blindfolded driving competition with instructions by drunken Scotsmen.
I'm actually trying to get that in, Harold. One of the ideas being floated is coming up with something that would be a trials competition that would then generate, we'll call it, the temporary name here is the Anarch Cup or Anarch Cup. And so it would be these different trial events, and folks would compete. Maybe they would compete individually, or maybe they would compete based on their club. So that if there's, that would give time for, and then that would give the opportunity for clubs to maybe have their own trial events to come up with a team to send. And these are all things under consideration right now.
Well, you could really have both individual medals and like a manufacturer's trophy, but for clubs.
So that is coming up next year. So prepare for 2023, especially here in North America, as we will have a number of events that are taking place. I realize that the two that we've talked about here in the podcast are in the Northeast, but I think that's one of the ideas for Anarch is to include clubs that are not strictly in the Northeast of the U.S. and Canada, but to encourage those clubs to have activities and events, and then we have that community across North America.
So that raises a question. If someone wants to go and buy a JLR product now to cheat and get an advantage over a Freelander at next year's event, how are their sales doing? Can you actually have one delivered by then?
That's we'll get to that later in the news. That's actually a very, very good question.
Which, a new Land Rover or a Freelander?
Speaking of the news, why don't we get into the news then? JLR blames chip shortage for a £455 million loss in 2021. So JLR has posted a pre-tax loss of £455 million in its latest financial year report, laying bare the effects of the semiconductor shortage. That figure includes a £43 million exceptional charge relating to the firm's operations in Russia, where the firm paused sales because of the invasion of Ukraine. Revenue for the year was down 7% year on year to £18.3 billion as a result of the firm's output being throttled due to the crucial chips that are not available. Last year, by contrast, JLR posted a £662 million overall profit, but around £1.5 billion in expenses relating to its reimagination transformation strategy. And sales volumes for the British manufacturer were down significantly in the year ending 31 March 2022, with wholesales dropping 15% to just over 294,000 units, and retail sales falling 14% to 376,381 units. However, the firm notes a dramatic increase in the portion of electrified vehicle sales, whether pure electric, plug-in hybrid, or mild hybrid. These accounted for some 66% of its overall sales, up from 51% in 2021. As of the end of March 2022, JLR has a record 168,000 orders to fulfill. 46,000 are the new Range Rover and 41,000 are the new Defender.
Holy backlog, Batman.
To your point, if you want to have the new Range Rover for Anarch next year, you might want to order it yesterday.
I think so.
I'm still struggling with the numbers. You say they made a £600 million profit last year and a £400 million loss. That's a £1 billion reversal. Am I confused?
No. Yes and no. You have the right numbers, but I think maybe they had a $662 million overall profit in 2020.
Okay,
but $1.5 billion in expenses relating to its reimagination strategy.
Okay,
so they had an overall loss of £861 million.
Okay,
this past year, physical year for them, so we'll call that 2021.
Yeah.
That was a pre-tax loss of £455 million.
All right. It just sounds like they're going from a gross profit of 600 to a gross loss of 400. But yeah,
I think in 2020 they took that special charge because of the change in strategy, and I think that was that 1.5 billion.
But leaving that part out, that's a £1 billion change.
Yes. Yeah. That's true.
Wow.
And JLR said they expect gradual improvement with regard to the semiconductor supply shortage throughout 2022 and into 2023. But it says its volumes for the first quarter will be impacted by the COVID lockdown in China, crucial market, and the changeover to a new generation of the Range Rover Sport. It says it's possible this volume reduction will result in a pre-tax loss and negative cash flows, but anticipates improvement thereafter, leading to a projected 5% overall operating margin and £1 billion in positive cash flow for the financial year. So there's another 1 billion swing, Harold.
Well, they're just pogo sticking all over the place, aren't they?
Does show that if China's sales are down, it does mean the chances of delivery of that new Range Rover before the Anarch event is actually getting better. So it's good for us, not good necessarily good for China or JLR.
Good for us because we're getting dibs, is what you're saying?
Yep, we're getting vehicles that they can't ship somewhere else.
Okay, I got you.
And you really want to buy the most upscaled version of the new Range Rover because that's the one they're going to produce first because of the chip shortage.
That's the one you want for an off-road event. You got to have the reclining rear seats.
Oh, yeah, you got to buy the fanciest, most fragile one you can get.
And then moving on, JLR announces plans for new innovation hub in the Midlands. So JLR has announced plans to create a new innovation hub in the West Midlands. The new facility forms part of the Coventry car maker's open innovation strategy, which was announced yesterday. That would have been back in late April. The new innovation hub is part of a partnership with investor and corporate innovation platform Plug and Play. That's the name of a company or organization, and will aim to create and deliver next generation technologies to support JLR's Reimagine strategy. JLR has not yet announced a new location for the hub, but it says it'll be close to its West Midland headquarters. Open innovation will drive collaborations. This is the business speak part, which I'm going to read you. Open innovation will drive collaborations with startups, scale-ups, and like-minded external organizations on electrification, connectivity, digital services, metaverse, intelligent enterprise, manufacturing, supply chain, and sustainability. As part of the new global strategy, the car maker will launch a first-of-a-kind innovation hub in the UK in partnership with the corporate innovation platform investor Plug and Play.
Don't they already have another innovation center or something somewhere else?
I think you're right, but I think that was an internal one. This one seems like this is more of a collaboration with external entities. I think that previous one was internal.
I think they just wanted to use
Plug and Play.
I think they just want to use the words plug and play more often or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Revisiting the 90s.
Thank you, Microsoft. You know, I read the rest of that article and it was just gobbledygook business type innovation collaboration type. So I don't know what's going on. So
I don't think they do either. They're just throwing lots of fancy words around.
Yeah, I just want to know whether I can buy a nice NFT icon and display it on my dashboard on the new Range Rover. That's all I care about.
Well, with Metaverse, I guess they're going to have Facebook interoperability on the thing too.
So you don't even have to post your check-ins anymore. It just tells everybody where you're going.
That's right.
And where you are.
Putting that all together, what would probably happen is you'll be able to buy a licensed Land Rover / Range Rover in the Metaverse that you will then drive while sitting in your own home and not having to go anywhere. But you'll still pay probably, $20,000 for.
That's to go out to check on your chickens in Farmville.
If you had a Metaverse Land Rover, will they allow you to ford water deeper than 3 meters or 91 millimeters, whatever the wading depth is? Could I drive into the ocean?
Good question.
They may actually still float.
You mean they don't leak?
Not the new ones.
They're like a Volkswagen? Wow.
It reminds me of the days of Microsoft Flight Simulator when you could fly a 737 under the Golden Gate Bridge. Actually, the cool thing to do was to use an F-16 to take off, get some altitude, and then just mid-flight change aircraft to a Sopwith Camel and start doing aerobatics. That was fun.
So you could start out with a new Range Rover in the desert and then switch to a Series 2A while you're then transversing the desert and then switch back to a Freelander.
Or something like that. I'm thinking more like you'd want to take a R.O.V.E.R.S and punch it until you're doing 120 and then change to a Series 2A and see what happens.
Watch all the panels fly off.
I'm just thinking the first corner is going to be rather interesting.
Especially if you're on original virtual radials.
Or virtual bias splice.
Oh yes, bias plus. Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Especially the military ones.
At what speed do they start to disintegrate? 60 miles an hour, 41 miles an hour?
What is the sticker they put on the dash of the Army trucks? 45?
40, something like that, yeah.
So I think 46.
UK automaking at risk as JLR looks elsewhere for batteries. I'll read a good portion of the several paragraphs. Almost a decade after playing home to Europe's first mass-produced electric car in the UK, the UK is at risk of becoming a footnote in the global auto industry's shift to battery-powered vehicles. The UK lacks the battery cell and packaging factories automakers will need to support their transition away from the internal combustion engine in what could be a fresh blow to British car making. The country's top auto manufacturer, Jaguar Land Rover, is in talks with Northvolt and S-Volt Energy about supplying batteries for a range of EVs that it will produce in Slovakia. Unless battery investment picks up, automakers may only accelerate their exodus from what was once the world's second biggest auto manufacturing base. In the last few years, the UK fell outside the top 15. And the former CEO of Aston Martin, Andy Palmer, says it's about to be too late to preserve the UK's role as a major automotive producer. Unless there is either a carrot or a stick to incentivize battery production in the UK, it's only a matter of time before the automobile industry here becomes a niche industry that caters to brands such as Rolls-Royce and Bentley.
Can't they just sell them with a little sticker on there that says batteries not included? I mean, it works with toys, right?
Britain doesn't have any of the natural resources to make batteries with the rare earths and everything else. Is there a competitive advantage to actually making them in the UK rather than just having them assembled and made somewhere else and shipped in?
I think that is part of the discussion, is to incentivize them to have the resources brought there so they could make them.
Or, this article sounds more like it's a peon to the government to give us subsidies.
Yeah,
to
pretty
go
much.
and do something
Yes.
like this.
If you read later in that article, here it is. Mike Hawks, who's some chief executive officer of SMMT, says, unfortunately, it's not a level playing field. Governments intervene in Europe, they intervene in America, they intervene in Asia. So the UK government has got to make sure that at the very least, it creates a framework for UK manufacturing to be competitive.
So a race to the bottom with subsidies.
Yeah, I think the only competitive way to make batteries is in a third world country with slave labor. You've got the raw materials and a government that doesn't care about the environment.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, it's sad to say that.
There are battery locations being opened up in North America and in Europe and other ones. Tesla opened up one in Germany. They've opened up one in Australia. They've certainly have a couple here in the U.S. And other places. I think this is just I think what this article is trying to say is that the UK has been sitting on the sidelines, and if it wants to be involved in the modern car production, it needs to step up and do something, whether that's subsidies or at least incentivizing people to do that in the country, especially since they've broken away from Europe. I think that has probably caused them additional difficulty. Moving on to the Land Rover Defender rival, Ineos Grenadier, prices have been announced. The company said order books for the eagerly anticipated vehicle will be opening later this month, so that is here in May. The Grenadier will be priced from £49,000 when the first models hit the road later in the year. A 4-model lineup powered either by petrol or diesel BMW 3-liter engines will be available, with a range topping out at £59,000. From launch, Ineos will offer a wide range of factory fit options and an extensive choice of accessories. An open source approach means customers can attach existing kit. Pre-wired electric access points means fitting lights and other powered accessories is easy.
And about 1,000 spare switches inside that you can control all the accessories you want. Not a bad price point for what you're getting.
Yeah, the 2023 Ineos Grenadier set to roll off production in late July. Customers with existing reservations will be able to place their official orders with a $3,500 deposit. The 2023 Grenadier will be available at launch in markets Europe, Sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East, Australia, and New Zealand. I didn't say the US because the next sentence says the base model will be introduced as a starting price of $59,600, while the Trailmaster and the Fieldmaster editions will cost $67,000. U.S. customers can still reserve their Grenadiers for $450. Expect U.S. deliveries to begin in 2023.
So next year.
Yes, but the rest of the world is getting it sooner.
Well, of course they are. We're always the last to get the cool stuff.
Would you want to be the first of buying a brand new model car, or was it better to let the rest of the world test the thing out before they send the models to us?
Well, I think there's still going to be a problem for the first guy in this country that gets them. I think you just kind of got to get them rolling in and get that teething stuff over with.
It's true too.
And we're still not getting the diesel, correct?
I don't believe so. I think we saw that a couple months ago. They said it was just going to be gas only.
Yeah.
I didn't see that here in this article about diesel for the U.S.
I would much rather have a diesel. Oh, well.
Life is better with diesel. It just is, except right now with the cost of it.
It doesn't really matter what kind of vehicle you're driving right now.
The 3-row Land Rover Defender 130 teased ahead of May 31st debut, which of course is the day the podcast is published and dropped, so that you will probably already know about the 130. But in this article, Car and Driver says Land Rover has revealed that it will officially announce the 130, which joins a lineup above the 2-door 90 and a 4-door 7-passenger 110 on May 31st, and has released a teaser image of the 130 playing on some dunes. The 130 will come with 8 seats with 2 rows of 3 positions behind the driver and the front passenger. To accommodate extra passenger, Defender 130 is expected to grow by 10 inches, with most of that length, or probably all of that length, coming behind the rear on the rear overhang. The stretch 130, designed primarily for the U.S. and China markets, is expected to be offered only in higher trim levels, and will likely be fitted with both the 6 and 8-cylinder engines. Order books will open in the United Kingdom on May 31st, and shouldn't be long before U.S. customers can start plunking down a deposit. The 130's starting price is expected to be at least $70,000, with V8 model going for well over $100,000.
Well, one can hope it's only available in 6 and 8. I cannot imagine something that big with only the 4-cylinder in it.
Yeah. Oof.
By the time you probably listen to the podcast, you'll have already heard officially about the 130 coming out, but apparently it is coming out. We had a listener last week send us an image of the 130 over Instagram. We got a picture of it. It was in its camo. And,
ooh, a spy shot, an exclusive Centresteer spy shot.
He said it was seen just outside of Solihull. You can't see the picture from here, but it had a long overhang, so we assume it was the 130 after all. And then this is Defender story. I like this one. This is the 2023 Land Rover Defender adds 30th anniversary edition. Land Rover will offer 500 unit run of the 2023 Defender 30th anniversary edition to commemorate the limited run of the 1993 Defender first edition models it sold in the U.S. back in the day. Its appearance is meant to evoke the look of the original with Fuji white exterior paint, white 18-inch steel wheels, and a serialized badge on the rear showing which number it is in the series. The special edition is based on the 4-door 110S model with the Defender's base engine, the 2-liter turbocharged inline 4. It comes equipped with options including cold climate package, tow package, off-road package, black exterior appearance package, mud flaps, a ladder, side steps, wheel arch extensions, roof rack, rubber floor mats are also included. The 30th anniversary Defender costs $76,350, which is several $1,000s more than a comparably equipped Defender 110S with similar options added. If you're willing to pay extra for the badge and exclusivity, Land Rover says the anniversary edition is available now at certain dealers.
And what's the cost on that again?
$76,000.
So far less than an actual North American spec 110.
Oh, yes.
That's true.
Like half the price of a junk one.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And it's already an automatic. You don't have to convert it over.
So this is actually a 30th anniversary of the North American 110, not a 30th anniversary of the Defender name, which was before that, or the model which became the Defender, which was another 10 years before that. Just an anniversary of them coming to this country.
It's just that 500 units that they sent right before.
Okay. And it's only available on the 110. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes, you are correct. It's
okay.
only it's only a 110.
Does that mean next year they're going to have an anniversary for the 90s?
But it looks really good. It's all white. It's got the steel wheels, and I think it's pretty cool that they have the original Land Rover logo design. That even though not the green oval, the one before that. And
right.
It has Defender and 30 years with a serial 1 out of 500 or whatever number it is
cool.
you happen to get. So that's kind of cool.
Does it have the external cage on it and all that nifty NAS 110?
No, that one it does not. This one, the picture they show here has a roof rack, and that's all I see on this one. They said it should supposed to come with a ladder and that stuff. But maybe
I wonder if you can get the cage for it just to, because that was like a lot of the NAS 110 was that cage.
Right. Well,
right.
I'm sure, hey, for the right price,
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, I did read somewhere that there's a a company, I can't remember exactly where in Europe, who's doing their first 90 soft top conversion.
Oh, I did see something about that. Yeah, they were going to take a current 90, cut the rear off, and
Well, so if you're doing the 30th anniversary of the 90 next year, you do need to offer it in soft top.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
With 2-piece doors and sliding windows and all that kind of stuff. I wonder if the sliding windows would be electrically operated.
Ooh.
And the new Range Rover Sport made its debut this past month in May. And a couple stories to read some information about that. They introduced the Range Rover Sport, originally released it back in 2005. And now this is in its third generation of the model. And this article here has, this is what, Hot Cars. And they had a couple of things they wanted to pull out here. The new car has a much more sculpted appearance with cleaner, softer lines, much softer on the eye than earlier versions. They really like the Sport's dark tinted canopy of glass with smoothly wraps around the top of the car. Everything looks smooth. The flush mounted door handles simply fade into the panel work. There are no hard edges. The Sport door handles have proximity sensing, so you don't even have to get the key fob out of your pocket. Likewise, it will lock itself when you walk away. And one feature that they liked is the soft door close. So it'll add, they said that adds to the premium nature of it, says the soft door close. And if you want to read more about the new Sport from Hot Cars, we'll link, of course, in the show notes. And Autocar, read you some more about the details here from Autocar. Following on the flagship of the Range Rover comes the Sport. Design-wise, the Sport follows the path of the full-size Range Rover while maintaining some unique cues. The whole body is smoothed out with minimalist lines and curves. Great effort was taken to keep body panels, windows, door trim, door handles as flush as possible. The Range Rover Sport actually has a drag coefficient of 0.29. Among some of the unique design features of the Sport are the extra slim grille and headlights, the latter of which are the most slender headlights Land Rover has ever produced. The taillights remain horizontally oriented. Unlike the vertical pieces of the big Range Rover, they blend into the trim panel that bears the model's name. There's a dynamic trim for the Sport that also gets unique bumpers and copper accents around. Plug-in hybrid version, making 434 horsepower, 619 pound-feet of torque, thanks to the addition of a 105 kilowatt electric motor. With its 31.8 kilowatt-hour battery, Land Rover estimates plug-in Sport will be able to go 48 miles on electricity only. Or if you want to go fast, it will get the Sport to 60 miles an hour in 5.5 seconds. That's just on electricity. Topping the range is one with the twin-turbo 4.4-liter V8 from BMW, which makes 523 horsepower, 555 pound-feet of torque, and takes the Sport to 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds, which is 1.2 seconds faster than the electric. There's also a full electric model coming in 2024. And chassis-wise, the Range Rover Sport is built on the MLA Flex platform, which Land Rover says gives the Sport 35% more torsional rigidity than the previous generation. All Sport models come standard with adaptive air suspension. They can be augmented with rear wheel steering, brake-based torque vectoring, and an electronic active differential. The Range Rover Sport is available for order now. Prices start at $84,350 US. It includes destination charge.
You missed one feature, the marketing feature that appeals to us series owner, the 22-way heated and ventilated seats that also give massages.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, retrofit that into your series truck. Now that would be the thing to do.
I've actually driven plenty of series trucks that gave massages.
Yeah, I was going to say they sort of, it's kind of a rough shiatsu massage.
Well, you certainly get a hand massage through the vibrating steering wheel.
Yeah.
You think one of these seats will be operated by my 18 amp generator?
Yeah, that's why you need the electric generator, just to operate the seat.
I'm still working on the notion of any Land Rover product having a coefficient of drag of 0.29.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Considering the first one had a drag coefficient of 0.92.
That would be mine.
Next, this is the 90, the D90, and apparently there's this. Is there a YouTube subculture I'm unaware of? I'm just learning about where they do walk-arounds of vehicles inside and out, And this one is so if you're interested, it's 16 minutes, 19 seconds. It's a walk around of the interior, walk around of the D90, the interior, and a drive of the D90 at night. And it's called the 2022 Land Rover Defender 90 V8 POV Night Drive. So if that interests you, maybe you're interested in 90 and you want to know what it looks like and operates and sounds like at night, this is the link for you.
And it is recorded with binaural audio. So get out your headphones and get the full experience.
What exactly does that mean?
It means that they basically record with two microphones positioned the average distance of human ears. So if you listen in stereo, it sounds like you're right there in the drive.
It's like listening to Pink Floyd. You want to do it with headphones on.
Yes.
So this will be good for the metaverse. They're getting prepared for the metaverse.
Exactly.
So they need to have Bob and Doug McKenzie doing the narration of this, because Bob can be in one ear and Doug's in the other.
And next, the 2022 Range Rover is a greatly improved transporter of gods. And that's the only reason I wanted to read anything.
Or people who think they're gods.
They're a Gear Patrol. They went out to California along with a lot of other of the journalists in the automotive industry when the new Range Rover came out here in North America. And they have a whole article here. They talking about taking the Range Rover on road, what it's like to drive, how it feels, all that stuff. But I just wanted to read it just for this one line. So here in 2022, how does the vehicle, once so memorably described in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia as a transporter of gods, hold up in the face of changing world and fresh competition? We head to California to find out. So if you want to know more about the new Range Rover, you're interested in buying one, and or just interested in it in general, that's a good article to read. It's pretty lengthy. They talk about what's it like inside, what's it like outside, pictures. It has folding rear seats.
Didn't our field correspondent Jeff Aronson go to that event in California?
He did. Absolutely, yes.
So we'll hear about it in December.
Moving away from current models, the Land Rover Freelander versus the Discovery Sport, 25 years of baby Landie. When the Land Rover Freelander was launched 25 years ago, it played a pivotal role in the company's future. It tapped into a market sector that was set for supersonic growth and one that still holds sway today and upturned people's perception of the nearly 50-year-old brand name that appeared on its clamshell bonnet. It's a Range Rover illusion. I didn't realize until I just read that. Technologically, commercially, and strategically, the Freelander made a permanent footprint on Land Rover, and the effects of which can still be felt in 2022.
In other words, we're still getting over it.
Dick Kelsey, who led the original Freelander program, explains why an all-new model was so important. Quote, it became more obvious that there was a blank space in the Land Rover product plan about 3 years ahead. So we set ourselves to the rather ambitious target of plugging in with a definitive leisure four-wheel drive vehicle, unquote. When Freelander was finally presented in September of 1997, none of its components were shared with any previous Land Rover models. Designed by a team led by Jerry McGovern, the Freelander immediately took aim at the Toyota RAV4, the Honda CR-V market, while trading heavily on its Land Rover roots. Compact yet space efficient, it was almost as roomy as the original Range Rover, and with an airy, modern, and practical cabin, it ticked all the right lifestyle boxes without compromising its four-wheel drive capability. As Elsie concludes, it wasn't just about the product. The Freelander changed the business. It was the way in which the younger team managing its deployment collectively made a commitment to use it as a vehicle for change across the company, unquote. So if you want to read more about the Freelander, this article is really good. It's the 25th anniversary of the Freelander.
I'll just say that in reference to the comment about the interior being roomy and airy, it gets much more airy after the windshield breaks.
For the fifth time, how many windshields did I go through? Four or five? Oh no, that was rear main seal. I think I had as many windscreens as I did rear main seals. I think it ended up being.
And what was it? Nearly 100% of people that bought a Freelander, and as Freelander, did not buy another Land Rover product.
Oh, it's definitely not 100%.
99.999 then, John.
Yeah.
It got me into the brand.
So John, I know you value your compatriots here and so on, and given that the underpowered hour now is going to have a corporate car, a Freelander, don't you think that you should be considering having one from Morgan at least to start driving and styling around with Centresteer podcasts on the doors? Giant logos.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. What I
Do
think.
you think it's actually possible using a NAS Freelander?
Well, I know where there's one we can have delivered to Morgan, and we can roll it off a trailer and ram it into a tree just so it feels at home with his other stuff.
Oh, ouch. Ouch.
Although
Ouch.
I bet the interior is a little less roomy now that the chimney has fallen on it, though.
It's much more airy, though.
True.
I'm just waiting for Ike to drive it rather than a series.
Well, I think Ike and Steve are doing it in an ironic hipster sort of way.
I still want to see it run for more than a year.
Good luck to them.
He's got a trailer, right? Just tow it
That's
around
true.
from place
That's
to
true.
place.
Well, hey, another one on the road. Get a few hundred more, and there might actually be more Freelanders on the road than 80 inches.
Well, getting them on the road is fine. Getting them back home off the road is the challenge.
That's what rollbacks are for.
Yeah.
Finally in the news, the Forest Rover, rare prototype roadless Land Rover. Wow. This is back in May 9th. An exceptionally rare Forest Rover roadless Land Rover. Wow. Say that
five
once,
times fast.
let alone five. Say that once.
Well.
I edited that out, by dear podcast listeners. I had to edit. I tried it like 3 times. Finally got it. Well, let's start again. An exceptionally rare Forest Rover roadless Land Rover from 1959 is coming up for auction in Tennant's Auctioneer Motorcycle and Automobile Sale May 14th with an estimate of 45,000 to 55,000 pounds. The extraordinary rugged version of the much beloved classic was developed in response to the Forestry Commission's desperate need for a vehicle that would be up to tackling the roughest terrain in their plantations. In 58 and 59, the Forestry Commission produced their own test vehicles based on the Series 1 and Series 2 to try and solve the problem before they approached Roadless Traction Limited of Hounslow to take over the project. Roadless Traction Limited specialized in purpose-built tracked trailers and produced a diesel engine prototype based on the Series 2 109, with large flat panels replacing the front wings and rear tractor-type mudguards covering the oversized wheels. The prototype was sent to Rover's testing facility for their official approval, and after 18 months of extensive testing, approval was given. Roadless launched their vehicle in 1961, marketing it for everyone from cross-country exploration to shooting parties and official visits around the empire. However, it was not a commercial success, and it is thought that only between 9 and 20 examples were ever built. The present example was prototype number 2 and used as a demonstration vehicle by Roadless Traction Limited. It is one of only 6 surviving vehicles known. The rest of the remaining vehicles are spread around the world, and examples known in Brazil, Falkland Islands, Dunsfold collection of vintage Land Rovers. The vehicle now up for sale has been owned by the present vendor, a private collector from the north of England, since 1995. Soon after purchasing the Forest Rover, he spent 3 years rebuilding it with as many original parts as possible. So I thought it was necessary there to read all about the Forest Rover. I thought there was only over one. I guess I didn't realize there was more than one.
No, there's more like upwards of 20 of them. Canadian Forest Service used at least one of them in Canada. When they say 6, that's 6 that they know of where they are and can be seen. But I would say that probably of the other 14 or so of them, all of them scrapped? Maybe, maybe not. I have heard that there's probably one in British Columbia also, probably was originally with the Forestry Service there too. So given how Land Rovers tend to survive because they look good, even if the frames are gone, there may be more than just 6 kicking around, but they wouldn't be as running as well as this one is.
I bet they could have sold a whole bunch of them if they'd offered it with a supercharged V8. Be the awesome mudbog vehicle.
Actually, kind of surprised that
it would be.
This model wasn't used for some of the overland expeditions that happened. A number of them happened. That seemed like it'd be a nice conversion with the large wheels.
I suspect a lot of that mud's going to be eaten by the driver, but even with those big wings, that mud's going to go everywhere.
Yep.
So the estimate was 45,000 pounds to 55,000 pounds. Any guess on what it finally sold for? And it did sell at auction. 1955 Roadless Land Rover, registration number XSY698. Guesses on final price in pounds?
110,000?
Probably about 110,000.
I was going to guess like 3 times, so somewhere up 130 to 150.
The final sale price was 110,000 pounds.
Overestimated.
That's still a lot more than I thought, actually. I thought the estimate was high.
The guy that bought that, since it's a roadless Rover, needs to get himself a custom license plate that says no road required.
Not available in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I already have that plate. So that's the news for May 2022. Knightsbridge Overland seat covers help protect your classic Land Rover. Whether you're on the trail or cruising around town, they're the perfect solution for protecting your pristine Land Rover seats or to cover up your well-worn and aged seats. Each seat cover is hand-cut and sewn in the USA for a custom fit that looks like it's straight from the factory. Each seat cover is crafted using durable 600 denier Cordura material. It's waterproof, oil, and dust resistant. Knightsbridge Overland seat covers are designed to be extremely comfortable and help keep you warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer, while providing protection against mud, dirt, grime, and more. Knightsbridge Overland seat covers are available for most classic Land Rovers, including Series, Defender, Discovery, and Range Rover. Select the Knightsbridge Overland seat cover that's right for your Rover. Available in both tactical and non-tactical versions in 4 colors: black, tan, mocha, and gray. Our tactical seat covers include military-grade MOLLE webbing that accommodates pouches, weapons, tools, first aid kits, and more. Non-tactical seat covers feature 3 handy pockets for much-needed extra storage in your Land Rover. Visit knightsbridgeoverland.com and enter STEER10 at checkout for 10% off your Knightsbridge Overland seat cover order.
When you read the line of oil, I figured, oh, okay, the series vehicles are covered, because I don't think you'd be getting oil on the seats of a modern Land Rover.
If you've been underneath your series truck working on it and you need to run down to the parts store, you're going to jump in your modern one and you're going to get oil on it.
That's knightsbridgeoverland.com and enter STEER10 for 10% off your order. Protect and enhance your Land Rover seats with Knightsbridge Overland. And now on the Centresteer podcast, R.O.V.E.R.S rally contestants, Team Rover Landing. Joining us from the United States is Hélène Renaud and Sarah Crabtree. Hélène and Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
This is fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this. We've had previous R.O.V.E.R rally contestants on the show. We've even had Emily, who started the R.O.V.E.R rally, on the podcast. But you two are taking a Legacy 110 on the R.O.V.E.R rally. How did that happen? How did that start? And we'll get to why a 110, but how did this come about?
I guess I'll answer that question. The 110 is actually my personal vehicle. I read about the R.O.V.E.R rally in an issue of Rover's Mag. Actually, I was reading up the article of the I couldn't tell you which contestants they were interviewing, but I remember seeing it not that long ago and just thinking, man, I really want to do this someday. And so I had been in touch with one of the organizers for quite some time. I was wanting to do it for 2021, but couldn't make it work. So then as soon as the roster opened up for 2022, I was trying to put things together. And then just kind of out of the blue, I called up Aline and I was like, hey, I know that you are very Land Rover savvy as I am. We had been friends personally through our local Land Rover club. And I said, hey, I think it would be great to, I think you and I would be great to put this together. And it was very, I'll say, spur of the moment to kind of put it together, but we were able to work out details and put together our team.
Yeah. And for me, it's Hélène here. You know, I've been a lifelong Land Rover enthusiast. I've been off-roading for a few years and it was definitely on my bucket list. I was thinking maybe in a few years I'll do it with my daughter. But then Sarah called me a few weeks ago and she said, hey, how do you feel about doing the R.O.V.E.R rally in a Defender? And we'll be the first one to do this. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, sign me up.
It's very exciting. It's wonderful. Hélène, you and I met, I believe, in person. Was it not at the Sand Rover rally?
It was in Wintergreen.
Wintergreen, that's right. I rode with you in your disco.
My first off-roader, my Discovery 2, and you rode along and you taught me how to go over certain obstacles, and it was awesome.
well, I appreciate that. You were very kind to say that. That's very cool. Yeah, you did a great job. That's right. Was it a Discovery?
It was a D2, yes. And since then, I've sold it and replaced it. But that was my first off-roader. Okay. Yes.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's stay with the R.O.V.E.R rally for now. Sarah, this is your 110. Can you tell us a little bit about the 110? How'd you acquire it?
Yeah, absolutely. I bought it as a gift to myself for my 21st birthday. And then
you're wonderful. You're wonderful.
And then I originally took it to my local dealer in Harrisburg to get it looked at. And they gave me a list and said, we have to tap out because it's a rest of world vehicle, not an NAS.
Oh, okay.
And so they're like, we have to tap out. And I was like, Okay, understandable. And so I was wondering, like, how in the heck am I going to get this thing fixed up? And my friend from high school actually knew of a guy in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, which is outside of Hershey, named Trevor Griffiths, and he runs British 4x4 Specialist. And so oddly enough, I was originally, this is, I guess, kind of going to my background now, in that I took the car to him and he treated me so wonderfully and got the car to be safe and legal and fun, brought it up to par and beyond. From there, I was a continuing customer for him for a couple of years. After a while, I was out of undergrad and I'm trying to save up money now for law school. And I went up to him one day out of the blue because he moved to a bigger shop. And I was like, hey, I need to raise up some money for school. Are you accepting any apprentices at this time? And he was kind of caught off guard by the question, but he was like, yeah, sure. And so I've been working for him now for 2 years as his apprentice.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're also a mechanic then?
I am also a full-time Land Rover mechanic. Yes. At our little independent shop.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So how long have you had the 110?
Since 21, I'm 25, 4 years now.
You said it's rest of the world. So is it left-hand drive?
Yes, mine is left-hand drive. It came out of Italy, and I want to say the south of Italy, because when we were first checking it out, the bulkhead and the frame were plenty solid. So that was
solid.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, I was about to say
So
shocker that they were in bad shape, but if they were solid, that's actually a shocker if they were in good shape.
Yeah, that's my one little caveat I like to say about it coming out of Italy, is that it was actually rather intact.
Do you know anything about its history in Italy?
I unfortunately don't. The owner that I bought it from originally, he imported it himself, and he didn't have much detail beyond the fact that it came from Italy. Like I said, I can just only guess that it came from the south of the country, since it wasn't so rotted away from salt.
Sure. No, that's okay. Sometimes you know the provenance, you know where it came from. You know, it could have served as a police vehicle or, tow truck or fire vehicle or something.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back to the R.O.V.E.R.S rallies. You read in Rover's magazine that the R.O.V.E.R.S rally was happening. Jeff Aronson will be very happy to hear that, by the way. Mm-hmm. And have you done any off-roading before? Are you like skilled or experienced in off-road capabilities and orienteering? And I guess those are the skills, right?
I think I'm like the co-pilot and the navigator. I think that's basically what my role is going to be. So both Sarah and I have been off-roading for quite extensively on the East Coast, of course. So, this is going to be a very different type of terrain. And I really lucked out because actually before even finding out I was doing the R.O.V.E.R.S rally, I signed up for one of Bill Burke's trainings, which I'm doing next week in Grand Junction, which hopefully Colorado, which will take me and give me some practice and exposure to, more of a desert and a sand kind of off-roading. So, but the big challenge for me is going to be the navigation and learning about the navigation. And the R.O.V.E.R.S rally uses the longitude and latitude type of navigation, which is not the maybe more traditional military navigation style a lot of people are more familiar with. So I'm taking one REI class, but I've got a lot of work ahead of me over the next 5 months. And the beauty of our the R.O.V.E.R.S rally community, though, is that we've already been approached by participants who are willing to help. I have a friend actually who's offered to help me and help me do some navigation with her this summer. So it's going to be really helpful. So that's going to be my biggest challenge. And then Sarah, I don't know if you wanted to talk about your challenges ahead as a driver.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I am very much a mountain mama, so to speak. I come from West Virginia, and I actually taught at the off-road school at the Greenbrier Resort for a little while. And so that's where I get most of my training from. So rock and mountain is very much my forte. And so going into sand and desert is going to be a massive transition. I'm very much looking forward to the challenge of it. And as for orienteering, I have some experience with the more traditional style of navigation. So I am switching gears a little bit to more of the longitude latitude style of it as it was explained. And so again, I'm very much looking forward to the challenge of trying all these new new thing, so to speak.
There's a difference between latitude and longitude, and you said military style. Can you briefly explain what the difference is? Because honestly, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, I can explain the military style certainly more. I was ROTC for a little bit in college. And so the way that we were taught is that we were given coordinates on a map, and it was a specifically gridded out section of a map. And then by taking those coordinates, you shoot an azimuth, and then you find specific points that are plotted. And we were, this was a grade for the class, so to speak. You had to find the correct point in order for your, operation to be considered successful. What was tricky about that is that they would purposefully put incorrect points out on the physical land. So how it's achieved is that we literally walk or ruck to the point. And so if you reach the correct point, then obviously mission accomplished, but it was possible to reach incorrect points if your calculations were not correct. So that was more traditional military style that I was taught. And that's a very, very watered down explanation of it.
And that's different than latitude and longitude being the traditional points that we know where it's like 30 degrees by 15 minutes by so many seconds.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So so GPS is that traditional latitude and longitude seems to have taken over the navigation aspect. Is that the correct statement?
Yeah, I would say so.
So the Rebel Rally uses the old military or uses the latitude and longitude?
The latitude and longitude. So as you know, basically there's no GPS, right? There's no electronic devices allowed on your truck for the whole 8 days you're out there. So it's all compass and plotters and traditional navigation and maps with debriefs every morning. And then we have to, hit as many checkpoints as possible during the day. That's kind of the goal. And so we're going to be in that Defender for 8 to 10, maybe 12 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, actually, it's probably you bring that up. We should probably explain to our listeners who are not familiar with the Rebel Rally what it is. And I should also mention that there is a GoFundMe that you have set up in order to support the Team Rover Landing. And we'll, of course, have a link in the show notes to this. But if you go to GoFundMe and you search for Rebel Rally Team 180, is your way to help support Ellen and Sarah in their Rebel Rally challenge coming up. So tell us when the Rebel Rally is. I think it's in October? And for listeners who are not familiar with the Rebel Rally, maybe a brief explanation of what happens and how long it takes place.
So the Rebel Rally is in its 7th year, and it's actually an all-women navigation-only competitive rally. It's actually also the longest rally in the United States. It's about 2,400 kilometers over a period of 8 days, which is a significant amount, a big distance. It's a competition for points and not speed, which is very different. So that's why we're talking about, every morning there's a debrief and you have a map and you have to hit certain checkpoints. And there's different levels of difficulties in this checkpoint. I think they go from green to blue to black. And whoever collects the highest number of points, which is as strategic as, it is about speed or other aspects of maybe traditional rally driving, whoever collects the highest number of points ends up, ahead in the race. So that's kind of, it was, you said you had Emily Miller on the podcast. She probably mentioned that she was inspired by this long-standing rally, the Aisha de Gazelle in Morocco, right?
So you actually say it better than I would, so thank you for that.
It's been, and I'm familiar with it. My family, actually, my mom is from Morocco, so it's a very well-known rally, and it's been out there for 30 years, and it's also an all-female navigation-only rally, and so I think that she brought that model to the United States, and it's been very successful. And this year, I think it's the 7th year. It's going to be one of the largest. They have already 52 teams signed up to participate.
And it's not just Land Rovers only. This is open to any maker model. Is it taking place in the same location? It's in California? Is it in the same place every year?
I think it's changing. Sarah, do you know?
Traditionally, or at least in the past, it's been through Utah and California, but we have not been disclosed. It has not been disclosed yet as to the actual location.
So that adds to the challenge and the difficulty factor of not being able to be kind of pre-brief yourself on a location. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be in Nevada as well. I think now it's tri-state. It's crossing over 3 states.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We should find out at the end of May where is the departure point or departure area.
So you learn the departure point, and that's all you know to show up on October X, whatever the 5th or whatever date it is. Mm-hmm. And this is the departure point. Have your truck ready, have your cells ready, and then you get the material for that day's activities. That's it. Is it just so you only know the day activities that you need to complete?
Typically, but I would imagine there might be a bigger debrief in the beginning, but both of us are new. We've never been, right? And so and there's a certain level of secrecy around it too, I find.
Right.
So we'll see when we get there. But yeah, we definitely will know where we're supposed to meet everyone.
Right. That's about it.
Excellent. And you said it's 8 days?
I believe it's 8 days of competition, but I think we meet the day before, and then there's like celebration at the end and a little bit of downtime. So I think it ends up being over 10 or 11 days. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking the 110. I believe you're going to be the first. I think this might be the first that I've heard of a Legacy 110. Tell us more about the 110 make, model, year. Well, we know the make and model, but what year, the engine size, any modifications you plan to make or have already made to it. Kind of curious to hear more about the vehicle.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So as from what I understand, we're the first classic Defender period to come to this event, which we're very excited about.
Yes. Huzzah.
Yes, finally. Yes. And so for my truck, we lovingly call her Lola. The truck is a 92 Defender 110, 200 TDI. That's the original engine that was in it. Let's see, to any sort of modifications I've done to it. I really have not done many serious upgrades, so to speak. I've mostly just gone with more stock options just because I believe the vehicle to be very capable to begin with.
You would be correct, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see. New transmission. When I bought the truck, I had all sorts of things done to it. I mostly had wiring figured out for it as that's very common among those cars. So new transmission, I went from an R3, I believe it's the R380 to the 77. The new transfer case, the engine I did not touch other than just changing out fluids and gaskets. Upgraded shocks and springs from standards to Old Man Emu. And let me think what else. No upgrades done to the interior. So yeah, mostly when I bought it, I really did just some very standard maintenance work done to it. As for preparing it for the rally, I plan on doing a roll cage. I think a roll cage is going to be a really good idea from the safety aspect. It currently has rear drums, so I think I'm going to change those out to brakes all around, disc all around.
Is the roll cage required by the rally? I suspect they might require some sort of rollover protection.
I don't think so, since this event is actually geared to a lot of newer cars. Like you will see fresh off the lot cars come to this event, and so a lot of competitors try to run bone stock. That's actually a coveted title to win at this event, is the stock title. And so I don't think roll cages are required, but there certainly are recommendations that they give, such as upgraded tires and, recovery gear, things of that matter.
And I should add, for any listeners who are new and maybe not familiar with a 1992 Defender 110, you may have noticed something we didn't bring up, which was whether it is a automatic or a manual. But all Defenders, unless you purposely did it, they are manual. So that is, in fact, it's a 5-speed manual and with a 200 TDI in it. That's great.
Yeah.
If I may, point of privilege for the podcast.
Yeah.
My Defender is a 200 TDI in it. So that's kick-ass. Good.
I have so many people tell me you should switch over to a V8. I'm like, no.
No. How does fuel work? So you clearly it's a diesel, and do they? I take it they supplied the fuel, or do you have to bring your own fuel with you?
They supply. We are actually not allowed to carry spare fuel unless it's like a auxiliary tank already hooked up, which is actually, I'll say one more thing I plan on doing to the truck is an auxiliary tank to hook up. But yeah, we're actually not allowed to carry jerry cans or anything of the matter. We do have to give them the money for fuel, but they will carry for us.
Okay. What about food and other provisions, sleeping gear? Do you have to carry that all with you, or do they do one of those, transport ahead for you?
So they basically, we have to carry everything with us. Any spare parts, some might need to be replaced, right? So they have a mechanics team that works at night, but you have to bring all your spare parts, especially for an older car. You also have to carry all your camping equipment, but there's like a base camp every night where they will have actually food prepared for us. And there's actually, I think, on-the-go showers as well. So we'll be able to shower during those 8 days, which is fantastic.
That is, yes.
Yes.
Do you have to set up camp, or do they set it up for you?
No, we do have to set up camp as part of the teamwork that you have to do. You start at 5 o'clock in the morning, I think, and you have your debrief and your map, and you start plotting. So one of us, I think, is going to have to unpack or pack up for both of us, while the other one is plotting, because then, you're off your starting gate early and on the road all day. So a lot of teamwork. That's what we're lucky. We live close to each other. Sarah's in Pennsylvania. I'm in Maryland. So we're going to have to do some of those practices this summer, make sure, find out who's stronger at packing and plotting and whatever.
Right.
It's just kind of
teamwork. The teamwork aspects, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's some things that it sounds like they do for you. You don't have to worry about cooking, which is a nice feature, so that they take care of that. But you still got to carry your sleeping gear. You got to put that up yourself. Your tent, take it down. Yeah. Do the preparation for the day, but at least the food's taken care of for you. So that's
right.
it. Now, on the mechanic side of it, if you do break something, are you required to work on the vehicle also, or does the mechanic team they have, are they there to assist you, or are they mainly doing the work? I guess how does all that work out?
So if you break down, you have to be, depending on the severity of the break. I know that you have to wait for a reserved spot for the team to come and support you. But considering that working on Land Rovers is my day job, a lot of the smaller fixes I think I will hopefully be able to handle, such as, drive shaft breaking off or something, or, hub goes loose or bearings go bad or things like that. But yeah, from what I understand and what I've read so far is that if you have a breakdown, depending on the severity of it, you have to wait for them to basically have time to accommodate you.
So first break, first serve.
Yeah, very much so. I have to brush up on the rules a little bit. I read them a while back. They normally take care of your major repairs overnight, but it is possible to have a small belt go out or something, or a hose that goes out on you. And then you can be back on the road same day.
If it's a major repair, though, at night, basically the cars are taken away from us. We can't.
Oh, correct.
We can't get to. We don't have access to our cars overnight. So
correct.
It's to keep them safe. Make sure that there's no tweaking or cheating or whatever going on. Whatever they're trying to prevent. But So if it's a major repair, then Sarah wouldn't be able to do that. They would have only the mechanics team, I think, has access to the trucks at night and in the evening. Yeah.
So you have up until a certain amount of time, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. or something. They take the truck away, they secure it. You can work on it yourself until then. Then they take over and they slot you in first come, first break. I'm quoting that phrase. First break, first serve. There we go. First break, first serve.
It's the same thing with our electronics. In the beginning of the rally, they will take our cell phones and anything with a GPS device, whatever, and they will seal it. And they will check that the seal is still on every day. So it's going to be traveling with us. We just can't touch it and use it. But we're allowed a 3-minute, I think, phone call a day, up to 3 minutes on the phone that they provide. If you need to reach your family, if you need to reach your friend, if you have a work thing going, and you really can't wait.
You have 3 minutes to solve that problem with the Johnson account.
Exactly.
So you're completely disconnected then. Electronics are taken away from you.
Completely.
You have them if there's an emergency, but really you're completely disconnected. Even at night, you can't, you're not able to use them. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because you could potentially figure out where you are and get a sense of where you're going, maybe, and you gain some intel and knowledge. Yeah.
Correct.
Exactly.
You have several months as the podcast is going to come out here at the end of May. So as listeners are listening to this, it will be June by then. And so then you will have June, July, August. September. Is that 4 months or so to prepare? What preparations do you think you're going to anticipate doing over those 4 months?
Well, I know for the truck specifically, there will be all sorts of mechanical upgrades that we've talked about, such as upgrading the brakes and things like that. I know my engine, as many TDI owners can sympathize to, is my engine eats oil pretty badly. So I think
I don't know what you're talking about. No idea. Move along.
Yeah. So I think new rings and pistons are going to be in order for that. Probably new water pump, just things that can, trying to prevent Murphy's Law by all means possible. So I even think I wouldn't mind taking all the hubs apart, replacing all the seals and bearings, just so that prevents any sort of fault to happen that could have been prevented beforehand.
Do you know how many miles are on your truck?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. I changed out, it came with the KPH odometer, which I'm probably going to switch it back to for this actually. And when it had that, it was at 176. So I think now I'm at probably 190.
Wait a minute. You said you're going to switch back to KPH, kilometers per hour. Well, why is that?
Yes. Sorry. So the, all of the plotting and mapping is kilometers.
Oh, did not know that.
Yeah. So I think that'll be of a home team advantage to switch over back to a KPH odometer.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking for the trip counter specifically, that can be reset. And if that is measured then in kilometers, that would make it all the more easier. Hopefully that'll be allowed. I'll have to look back into the rules to make sure that'll be allowed, but I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Well, you can't use Can you use a GPS separate from a cell phone?
No, it's all paper map.
And then switch to KPH. Gotcha. So in previous conversation here, sounds like you're going to be doing some orienteering and team building exercises.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Well, good. I take it that's what some of the supporting of your GoFundMe would help out with those activities. Yep. I take it because you do have a GoFundMe. Why we wanted you on the show for the podcast community to support our own. Mm-hmm. Can I call you our own? Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Our own R.O.V.E.R.S Rally contestants in a D110, and that is again link in the show notes. But if you look up R.O.V.E.R.S Rally Team 180 by supporting your GoFundMe, how do people help you in competing in the R.O.V.E.R.S Rally?
There's actually a lot of costs. Is that okay if I go, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There's a lot of costs associated to the rally. There's a pretty, significant registration fee for the rally itself, which is around $14,000, right? Because that's including all of the logistical team. You have about 70 people will be working, this rally for this whole 10 days. And, there's a lot of, obviously, oversight that comes with it. But in addition to that, obviously, we want to cover some of the modifications that Sarah has talked about, and we are interested in money, but also parts. If anybody on the podcast is listening and has access and is willing to donate Defender parts, we'll have a list for you. But, in addition to that, there's some add-ons on the rally. Sarah mentioned we have to pay for the gas. We have to rent some equipment, so specific equipment that you're utilizing, when you get to your checkpoints, so you have to rent that equipment as well. So that's an extra expenses. Of course, the travel, right? Transportation of the truck. We're not going to drive it from Pennsylvania to
probably
Nevada.
A smart idea. Yeah, it'll take you 3 days minimum.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So the transportation, and again, if anybody knows of a good service, a reliable transportation service, we would love to hear it. Yeah, because the truck will go with everything loaded in it. The spare parts and the recovery equipment and the camping gear, all of that stuff. So we want a really good, reliable, safe transportation service. Yeah, and of course our flights, so all of that adds up. But we're doing great. I want to say Sarah and I put the GoFundMe out, 3 weeks ago? I think that's when we put it out there.
Not been long.
It hasn't been long, yeah.
And the GoFundMe, as I'm looking at it right now, actually isn't accurate. It says that we've reached a quarter of our goal and we're actually over half.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Because it's showing me here, you're looking for $20,000 as your goal. And it's telling me right now, as we record this, that you're at 5750.
Right. And we are actually at 11. Some sponsors are choosing to give via other than GoFundMe. So I just so people know that we're actually making some waves here. A big reason why we would really appreciate support from anyone who's listening here is I'm sure anyone who's listening to this is a massive Land Rover enthusiast. And so the major objective of our team is we wanted this car to bring the community together from all across, not just the Eastern Seaboard, but from all across the country. I mean, this event is very geared towards modern trucks. And so it will not be surprising to see brand new Wranglers and Broncos and other sorts of new Defenders will be out at this event. And so we really wanted to rally, no pun intended, and show that you can teach an old dog new tricks, and that meet the new boss is not necessarily the same as the old boss, so to speak. Really would love this car to get out there to show that the classic Land Rover community is strong, and that we are very much a proud people that will succeed in any sort of obstacle thrown in our way.
Excellent. Well, I hope the podcast listeners will rally to your cause, and the podcast will be making a donation. I hope maybe you could throw a little small sticker. Can I send you a sticker to put on the truck?
Sure.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, we have sponsorships for everyone. And so we've had 3 corporate sponsorships so far, and over almost 20 individual donors. And anybody who donates more than $100 will get the opportunity to have a sticker on the truck during the rally.
What about a tire cover? Can I send you a Centresteer tire cover?
Oh, I'm sorry to say the tire cover was already taken, but there are still there's still plenty of other wonderful spots to be advertised.
There's only one Centresteer podcast tire cover, and it's on my truck.
Oh, gotcha.
I hope our listeners will consider supporting you. This is a fantastic rally in which to have participants in from our own Land Rover community here in North America. I will correct you on one thing, Sarah, the continent. Let's go. We've got Canadian.
Yes.
We got our Canadian brothers and
me.
sisters. So go out to GoFundMe.com and look for R.O.V.E.R.S Rally Team 180 and contribute what you can to help out Sarah and Ellen on their quest. So what happens when you win the R.O.V.E.R.S Rally? What are you going to do? Because you're going to win. You're going to win. We know it. It's going to happen.
Well, I know for our close friends and sponsors, Helene and I are a part of Rovers Club, which is the South Central PA club.
That is R.O.V.E.R.S. Right?
Yes, the Royal Overland Vehicle Expedition and Recreational Society, as we
I did not,
yes,
I've seen that club for years. I did not know.
Called ourselves.
Okay, well, we'll have to get to explaining Rovers to us later in the podcast, but continue on.
Yes, sorry. So we're both members of that club, and so we were planning on putting together a soiree of sorts I think we're going to try and do it at the shop I work at, as a bit of a celebration and as a thank you to all of our sponsors, any and all that would love to come out. We would absolutely love to host you. So
excellent. Well, good luck in participating in the R.O.V.E.R.S rally. Please keep in touch. Let us know how things go. I would say call us from the course, but you're not allowed. Although you could use one of your 3 minutes. Maybe you can call me. Yeah. Let's turn to you individually. And why don't we start with Ellen? I met you, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast. I finally remembered that I got to sit with you in Wintergreen while you drove a Disco 2, right?
Yep.
And so how did you become a Land Rover person?
So I'm originally from France, and I've always had something for everything British. And I ended up going to school in England. I was also an equestrian at the time, so I was heavily involved in the horse community. So lots of Land Rovers. I had the opportunity while working on farms or with other trainers to drive old series and Defenders. I remember them as being very utilitarian, very basic. And so, for me, that's kind of how I remember them. Came to the US and was a bit shocked by the price of those Land Rovers in America. So I didn't really get my first one until 2016. I got a Range Rover Sport, really loved it, but definitely not the kind of truck you take off-road or even, on farmland. So that's how the Discovery 2 came about. I bought it in 19, the year you and I met, actually. I think got it a couple of months before I met you at Wintergreen.
I think you're right. It might have been even weeks. I don't think you'd had it all that long. I do recall you talking about having a Range Rover Sport. Yeah,
so I had both for a while, and then I did tons of stuff on the East Coast with the Discovery. I did the winter romp. I did a lot of the events in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia. And then it kind of had some pretty serious engine issues last year and decided to replace it. And I actually sold both of them. And I'm now off-roading a full-size Range Rover 2008. So it's a little bit of a different drive, but it's been a really fun, kind of different experience with the independent air suspension and everything else. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm also involved in some of the clubs, local clubs, the Rovers, Rover Owners Association of Maryland and the Baltimore Rover Club. So organizing events and things like that.
R.O.V.E.R.S. I think that's always a good name, R.O.V.E.R.S.
Yeah, you had Chuck, I think, Hester, who's also one of the admins on your podcast. Yeah, so yes. he has a 19 NAS, right?
Yes, he does. Yep. Can I ask, are you able to drive a stick?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
In fact, my whole life, all the series and Defenders I drove in the UK were a stick shift. I learned, I took my driver's license in France on the stick shift. So I'm still going to need to practice this summer a little bit, I think, Sarah.
No problem.
What is it like to obtain a driver's license in France? I've never heard. I know a little bit about how you get one in the UK and certainly the US. Where does France fall between the US, which is here's a license, go ahead, don't hit anybody, and the UK, which is you take this test, hit these marks, and
yes,
it seems to be quite rigorous.
No,
is
I think
France
it's
somewhere in the middle?
Right there with the UK. It was quite rigorous. It was we had mandatory trainings to take. You had to go through a school and taking a certain number of hours, at least. My generation did. I'm not so sure now. You had to take a certain number of hours of training. And then they really grilled you on the day of the test, rear parking and all kinds of stuff. Parallel parking. I mean, that's what I meant. Yes, with a stick shift, going, parking uphill, downhill, all that good stuff.
Oh, wow.
So you currently have a Range Rover, an 08 Range Rover, and is that your daily, or
No,
do you have other vehicles?
We all have that vehicle that we don't want to talk about, the reliable one.
That's okay. I have a Jetta. I have a 2013 Jetta, freely admitted.
Yeah, no. So I use a full-size Range Rover for off-roading as well as camping with my kids. We do a lot of camping and weekend in the parks, but I do have a Toyota Sequoia for the trips to work.
When the Rangy needs a little bit of maintenance and reflection.
Exactly.
So let's turn to you, Sarah. We know a little bit about you already. You mechanic, which is phenomenal. And I need to say, I hope you don't mind me calling this out. If it's okay, no one will see this but me, but I've noticed that you have dirt under your fingernails.
Yes,
you are a real mechanic.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. A little embarrassing. I was doing a brake job today, so they're definitely dirty.
No. That you have nothing to apologize for. Nothing to apologize for. That's phenomenal. It's fantastic. How did you get into Land Rovers? New thing for you, or had you got into other cars and then got into Land Rovers at some point?
I would always say, I would say it was always Land Rovers. My friend Michael, I went to high school with him. He was restoring a Series 3, while we were in high school. And I would come over and I would watch him just tinker and play with this thing. This was when I knew absolutely nothing about cars. And then he, when we were done shooting the breeze and playing around with the car, we would go in and watch Top Gear. And so then that just further created this foundation of just a love of cars. I mean, I would definitely say watching the show definitely introduced my love of it, because it was I remember the very first episode I ever watched actually was the one where they go to Bolivia and Jeremy Clarkson was driving a Range Rover. And so just seeing how capable the Range Rover was and also how comedic the entire expedition was.
I think you should say how he abuses a Range Rover.
Yes, but just how comedic he was and how he just, I remember the comment where he said, I'm seeing what works in my Range Rover and I'm seeing all these gauges are by Smiths, so no. And I just, now I can laugh at that and crack up immediately.
Right. You understand, you're part of the body.
Yes.
You understand. Yes.
Yeah, I get it now. And so that would definitely, that episode in particular, and just hanging out with my friend and watching him put his Series 3 together, that instantly got me hooked to it. And so then I bought my Defender, like I said, when I turned 21 in 2017, and then I took it over to British 4x4, and I have since grown a massive love and passion for Land Rovers specifically, and being able to work on them every day. Like sometimes I get in my car to go home and I'm like, I don't want to drive this home, but no, working on them every day just helps to further the infatuation for sure.
Was Land Rover how you learned to drive a stick?
No, actually, and I'm gonna speak a bit of hearsay. I learned on a Wrangler.
It's okay. It's okay. We're all friends. We're all friends.
Okay.
It's okay. Without Jeep, there would be no Land Rover. Let's face it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I learned on a 92 Wrangler, and I couldn't tell you more beyond that because this was when I was just learning about cars. So that was really all I knew about the car. And it was just a friend's car. This was when I was living in West Virginia for another spell. Parents' close friend was just like, hey, why don't we just go out and do this so you know how to do it? And I was like, oh, okay, sure, why not? And then from there on, it helped me catch the bug.
Is Lola your first Land Rover?
Yes, actually. That was my very first Land Rover. And when I told my dad that, like, hey, I want to buy this car for my birthday, he's like, Land Rover? Come on, you can buy something, you can buy something that won't give you so much grief. Yeah, exactly. He was just so taken aback by it. And it's funny because, like, nobody else in my family is into cars, like, remotely, like, and so when I told them that, like, I really have a passion for cars, when I told my mom that, like, I'm out of undergrad and I'm saving money for law school and I'm going to work as a mechanic, she was like, wow, where did I go wrong?
Those of us here in the Land Rover community think you've gone right.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Yes, good for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
May I ask where in West Virginia, since I'm near Pittsburgh, I close relations with our West Virginia brothers and sisters?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, which is known for having the Greenbrier Resort.
Sure. Okay, explains. That's the Eastern Panhandle, West Virginia, right? No,
we're like the very south. We border Virginia. We're pretty much a border town, and we're in the very southern southeast part. Yeah, I think I mentioned this before. I was an off-road instructor at Greenbrier Resort for a little bit. And I don't know if I think some people might know this. Greenbrier actually used to have a Land Rover school, like a Land Rover off-road school in the early 2000s.
That's right.
And then when the hotel went bust in 2008, they sold it to whoever runs it in Maine. I think it's in now.
Vermont. I think it's Vermont.
I think
it's a driving school now, I think, in Vermont.
Yes, right. And so originally it was Biltmore and Greenbrier had the two schools, and now it is Vermont, and Biltmore still has theirs. And I think there's one in California now too.
And Montreal.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, I like to think the roots of a Land Rover love were growing, considering I got to drive on one of the original schools as an old day job.
So what exactly is an instructor at Greenbrier? What was this? Was it for the Land Rover part, or is this any maker model?
Oh, I'm sorry. So now it is a privately owned school that's associated with the hotel, and we run Wranglers on those trails. And basically what we do is we teach, I like to think that we're pretty extreme of a school, and that we teach hill climbs and hill descents, and we don't teach it as really don't build up to it. We really show people how to handle these things right out the gate. And what's really great about it is that we also do a lot of recovery training. We do all sorts of water obstacle training. And with that, because the trails often being in the mountains gets muddy or wet or rainy or snowing, we do teach a lot of, I guess the word would be evasive handling on off-road trails. So going down a slide, things like that, dealing with ice. I like to think that we're quite a premier school to teach those sorts of obstacles and tactics at the lake. Yeah.
Do people supply their own vehicles, or does the school supply the vehicles?
Both. We have fully kitted out Wranglers, but if you have your own kitted out vehicle, as long as your insurance will allow it, we will allow vehicles to come out, and we will allow owners to play with their own vehicles there. I actually keep meaning to bring my Defender out. I actually haven't brought my Defender out there. I'm sad to say, just all sorts of calendar events get in the way of it. Yeah, I know that is allowed at our course.
So tell us a little bit. You're the first person I know that's a member of Rovers. So tell us a little more about the Rovers Club, if you don't mind. What does it? I never knew what it meant. Can you repeat what Rover stands for?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. It's the Royal Overland Vehicle Expeditional and Recreational Society. So I think that was how we were able to keep Rovers without having Land Rover come after us. Was this it was because it was an acronym.
As long as you're nonprofit and you don't make money off of it, they'll give you a little waiver.
Oh, okay.
That's gotcha. Yeah, you probably somewhere in the deep in the archives, somebody has probably a little form. Where's Rover's based? What does or what does it generally cover?
Well, I know that a lot of our members are the Lancaster area, myself included in that, and so I actually help co-run it with the other manager. His name's Mark, and I know that he's Lancaster based, but we honestly cover like pretty much all over South Central PA, and we even work really regularly with the Maryland club, and we often, we'll try and co-run events together, so to speak.
Is there a main event that Rovers hosts or puts on?
We actually have two. We have our spring and fall trials, and those are held at our friend Lyle's property. He is very gracious to give his personal property as our obstacles, and it is very mountainous, very rocky, and very challenging, and that all leads to fun.
Is that open to anybody? Any Rover owners, or is it a little more of a closed? And closed is fine. I just was curious.
No. So as long as you are a member of the club and you can literally sign up as a member there at the event, it is open to any and all Rover lovers that are willing to get their truck a little dirty. And we even allow close friends of other makes and models to come and hang out. As long as you're willing to hang out and have a good time, we're pretty open to any and all coming out.
And how do folks find out about the club? Is there a website? Is it on Facebook?
Yes, we have a Facebook page. That's mostly what we work off of is the Rovers Facebook page. And we are called R.O.V.E.R.S Club. So that's how you can search us through that.
Yeah, it looks like there may not be a website that I can tell for Rovers Club, but that's okay. Oh, you do? No, it's roversclub.org apparently.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, you're right.
That's fine. We'll have a link in the show notes. So you're in that neck of the woods and you're looking for an event. Do the spring and fall trials take place around the same time every year?
Generally, it's first weekend in April for spring, and fall varies because there's always all sorts of other events going on the Eastern Seaboard. And so we try and coincide and not have them clash with any others.
Like Mar, for example.
Yes, Mar. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. But so normally that's mid-October, but that varies from time to time.
Great to hear from another club. That's one of the things I like about the podcast is we can talk about the clubs, especially here in North America, that are out there doing things and bringing the community together. And next year is the 75th anniversary of Land Rover, and we're there's going to be an event. 75th anniversary event that will take place most likely in the Northeast, which I'm trying to remember how it's, what is it? The Royal, what is it again? The Royal
Overland Vehicle Expeditional and Recreational Society.
Say that 3 times.
Yes.
Sarah and Ellen, it has been fantastic talking with you. I'm so excited that you're going to participate in the R.O.V.E.R.S Rally in a legacy, heritage, old, whatever you want to call it, Defender 110. This is absolutely fantastic. This podcast will be supporting you in some fashion or form, and I look forward to having you back on the program after it's over so we can hear how it went and also how the celebrations went. So I'm looking forward to that. Our listeners to the podcast, if you want to support the Team Rover Landing as they participate in the R.O.V.E.R.S Rally, go out to GoFundMe and look up R.O.V.E.R.S Rally Team 180. We'll, of course, link in the show notes as we always do. Thanks very much, Sarah, for coming on the podcast, and good luck on the R.O.V.E.R.S Rally. I really appreciate you coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having us. If anyone wants to reach us via social media, we actually have accounts set up on Instagram and Facebook just under Team Rover Landing. So that should be easy enough to find us. Anybody who wants to reach out to me personally, I'm at SECrabtree304, and I'm just on Instagram.
Ellen, also good luck on the R.O.V.E.R.S Rally. I really appreciate you coming on, and it was a good memory when I saw your face that we had met at Wintergreen and I got to ride with you. That was a good memory. So thanks for coming on the program.
Yes, same thing here. Thanks, John. It was nice to reconnect and talk a little bit about our adventures together back in 2019. Yeah, and if anybody wants to get in touch, Sarah just gave everyone our social media handle. I have also an Instagram account at the Disco2 family, which is my main account, and you can direct message us individually or direct message us on our Team Rover Landing account. So we're very responsive. Thank you.
Thank you too. Good luck on the R.O.V.E.R.S Rally. Really looking forward to your winning. You're going to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks very much, ladies. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed show number 110.
One better than 109, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Also an honest number when it comes to Land Rovers.
Which will be the next one? 119?
119.8 to be exact. Actually, probably 127.
Thanks to Harold, Morgan, and Dixon. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining us on the podcast, as always.
No problem.
Dixon, podcast listeners can't see this, but we can. You're wearing a Land Rover button-down shirt, and it has what I see a Rangy Classic. I think do I see a Series 2? What else is on that shirt?
Well, given the shirt is from the late 90s, there's a few of the products that were available there. Early Range Rover, Disco, looks like a Disco 1.
Of course, you're looking at them upside down.
Yeah, they're modern plushies. They're hard to tell.
How did you get that shirt?
Actually, I got it through Eric Riston at Atlantic British. They were not that popular, and so he gave them out to a few of us at an OVLR birthday party, probably about 98 or so, 99.
They look like the appropriate kind of shirt to wear to a barbecue or a luau or something like that.
Yeah, comfortable.
I'd be worried about oil stains in the skyscraper, but
the oil stays below me.
And thanks to Ellen and Sarah from Team Rover Landing. We hope you will go out to their GoFundMe and support them as they take the Heritage D110 out on the Rebelle Rally. I think that's going to be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Kick some ass, ladies.
And thanks to the One True Packs for continued production support. You can visit our website, centersteer.com, to listen to previous shows and for show notes, which have links to stories discussed in today's podcast. If you're listening to the podcast on our website, you can download a podcast app and subscribe to have the podcast automatically delivered. We post a new podcast at the end of every month. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, and voicemail. You can directly support the show at patreon.com/Centersteer. You can buy a t-shirt, sticker, or even a tea/brown and click on store on the menu of our webpage for all the details there. And in honor of Land Rover's 75th anniversary coming up, you are invited to bring your Land Rover to the Vintage Grand Prix in Pittsburgh in 2023 July. You have 13 months to prepare. Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear from you and what you're up to in your Land Rover. Click on voicemail on the website, let us know, or send us an email, or as Tom did, send us a message on Instagram. Until next time, I ask you to share the show with one other Land Rover enthusiast.
Thanks for listening. You may now resume your important things.
The classic Land Rover community is strong and that we are very much a proud people will succeed in any sort of obstacle thrown in our way.